Funding for the Maddy Report is made possible by grants from the Spencer family, Community Health System, Harris Ranch Resort, Producers Dairy, Valley Children's Healthcare, and The Wonderful Company. Additional support provided by from the Maddy Institute, the Public Policy Institute for the Valley's public universities. This is the Maddy Report with Executive Director of the Maddy Institute, Blake Zante.
Welcome to the Maddy Report. The newest addition to the University of California system, UC Merced, just reached an important milestone as it celebrated its 20th anniversary in the San Joaquin Valley. In a previous episode of the Maddy Report, we had UC Merced Chancellor Juan Sánchez Muñoz join us to discuss the economic impact of the university in the region and invited several faculty to discuss their research and how it influences public policy. UC Merced is also part of the Maddy Institute's University Consortium, along with Fresno State, Stanislaus State, Cal State Bakersfield, and State Center Community College District. Students from these institutions are eligible to participate in the Maddy Institute's Legislative Internship Program. Students receive a scholarship to intern with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. But we're not necessarily here to talk about that today. Without further delay, we welcome back Chancellor Muñoz to discuss this 20-year milestone for the university and its importance for the San Joaquin Valley. So thanks for being back on the Maddy Report, Chancellor. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Blake. Delighted to be here.
And we're delighted to have you. Could you just share a little bit about, this 20-year milestone, right, and maybe just provide a brief overview of what this means, not only for, UC Merced and the city of Merced, but also the greater region as well?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question. Actually, this Friday will commemorate the 20th anniversary of the first 875 students that arrived on campus. And so most people don't realize that the decision by the regents for a 10th campus in the UC took place in 1988. And it took until 1995, 7 years later, for the regents to then select Merced. And then it took another 7 years to begin to break ground on the campus. And then it took another 3 years to finish the build out and have the first class. So almost 17 years, right, from the ideation to the execution of the plan became UC Merced. Now we're 20 years past that. We have about 20,000 alumni, and we have any number of programs on our campus and activities and construction, and we're the largest employer in Merced County. We're one of the largest employers in the region, and we're over $500 million economic stimulus. This fall, we'll have the largest percentage of entering students from the San Joaquin Valley in the history of the institution. So I'll just end. The campus was put there to create access to the University of California, to increase the college-going rate of students from the Valley, and to serve as an economic stimulus and a catalyst for prosperity. And I think we've overachieved on all of those.
Now, another important milestone, UC Merced is making the leap to the NCAA Division II this fall. Not necessarily policy related, but
right.
Talk about what does this mean for the university?
Well, many people talk about athletics as being the window through which people see an institution. And so the university had historically been NAIA, very young campus, right? Not surprising that it focused on creating the most rigorous, esteemed academic programs, hiring the right faculty, the right staff, et cetera, building its enrollment. So this is an appropriate time to begin to make that transition. Every campus in the University of California is a member of the NCAA at different levels, and so we will become a member of the NCAA Division II.
Now, you mentioned the R1 research classification, and that's something in our previous episode, which our viewers can see on YouTube, talking about that R1 and what it means. UC Merced is home to world-class research and faculty who are performing this research. What does that mean for contributions to public policy in the region on issues like agriculture, water, healthcare, these issues that are very important? How are faculty contributing to that field?
Well, we have any number of what we call the organized research units that have faculty that specialize in water, as you said, in soil, in the ice pack, in the watershed, in things like valley fever and the kind of impact it has on people and their pulmonary respiratory systems here in the Valley. And so policymakers will call on faculty and ask them to do an analysis, do a study, write a white paper, for example. We have a new smart farm on campus, and so we've got people asking about, certain equipment, automation, precision nozzling, different sensors, and then this informs not just industry, but policy that might impact that kind of industry. And so this is what a research university brings to the conversation, to the enterprise. It brings research dollars, it brings investment, innovation, it brings out spin-offs. Company that spin off of some innovation that was first sort of developed and catalyzed on a campus. We were part of the F3 project that has helped brought $65 million to the Valley. So, and then of course, the medical research, right? We're constructing right now a medical education building that will become the cornerstone of our medical school, medical enterprise, with UC San Francisco in Fresno, as well as UC San Francisco in Parnassus, but also working with regional medical providers and looking at, conditions that are very endemic to the Valley and how we can improve the health and the well-being of the people from the Valley, all of which happen because you have, as you said, a research R1 means the highest level of research, which means world-class faculty, world-class facility, world-changing research taking place on our campus.
Well, thank you. We're going to take a quick break and then hear more about this important milestone for UC Merced. Thanks for joining us. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. Chancellor Muñoz, thanks for joining us again today on the Maddy Report. Reflecting on the last 20 years, we're talking about this important milestone for UC Merced. How is UC Merced, reshaping the region, not just the city of Merced, but also the San Joaquin Valley? And what are some of those pride points over the last 20 years for the university?
Right. Well, I certainly think the groundbreaking in 2002, the first class in 2005, I think the first commencement by the First Lady, Michelle Obama, was an important one. The project, the P3 project, most people may be unaware, the largest public-private partnership in higher education history is on UC Merced campus. P3 added 1.3 million square feet. We have state-of-the-art facilities. I think that's an important milestone. The medical education building is an important milestone. Our partnership with Merced College and our new housing for transfer students called Merced Promise Housing is another milestone. Friday, NCAA, important milestone, but also what our ambitions relative to our smart farm, our land grant AES designation. Obviously, the R1 is arguably one of the most important developments in the university's history. The expectation was it would be 10 years from now. We achieved it faster than almost anyone. Very, very important. Every university now in the University of California is an R1 institution. So those are just a few. I think looking forward, right, we want to look back with great pride, but we also want to have the same ambition that they had, and looking at programs in medical education, perhaps around nursing, perhaps around pharmacy, adding programs in, we just added a program in aeronautical engineering, data science, data analytics, biochemistry, looking at new programs that will create new careers for a lifetime of success, right, is what we want to do, and put students in labs with faculty to position them for great success upon graduation. So always driving forward. We talk about what you plant here in the Valley always grows and thrives, and we hope UC Merced is an example of that.
On that note, UC Merced serves a high proportion of first generation and underrepresented students, and you talk about planting those seeds right here in our Valley. How does that sort of translate into broader social mobility and public policy discussions around access to higher education?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. So we have a very large percentage that are on Pell, which means that they come from very, very modest families, about 60%. We have 75% or ish, a little bit more, of first generation. And so we have a very high graduation rate. Last year, in the last current year, we were recognized by the Wall Street Journal as the #1 school in America for social mobility. So if you come from very modest circumstances, you have the chance to receive a world-class education to prepare you for a lifetime of success. Okay, and so this is one of the promises of the University of California, and so we're doing it, but placing it in the Valley, the largest area that did not have a University of California institution campus. And so I think we're doing it. I think we're exceeding everyone's expectation for that achievement. And when we put students on a path towards social mobility, progress, sustained thriving. These are people that become invested as school board members, as teachers, as bankers, as business owners, as homeowners, and that's good for them, their families, our state, and our country. And we like to believe that UC Merced is increasingly a part of that.
Now, last question for you. Looking to the future, what do you envision for the next 20 years for UC Merced and beyond?
I think we'll continue to grow our enrollment, 15,000, maybe steady state in the future, 20 years out, 23,000. Very intimate environment, a very close-knit campus that has all of the appendages of large institutions, but in a very intimate, tight-knit community. I think we'll develop more programs in our medical enterprise, including nursing and pharmacy, and perhaps others as well. Dental could be something 20 years from now that happens. So that all of these sort of services are available here in the Valley. You don't have to go to the Bay Area or Southern California to receive the best medical care in any specialty here in the Valley, working again with our friends and colleagues here in Fresno. I see obviously the creation of new academic programs, the expansion of our agricultural activity to ensure that as we continue to feed the world from the Valley, we do it with equity and excellence, and that we do it with and for and from the people here in the Valley. And so I think this is why the UC was UC campus was placed in Merced, to do that for the Valley with our partners in higher ed across the Valley, all of whom are supportive members of the Maddy Institute.
Great. Well, Chancellor Muñoz, thanks so much for your time on the Maddy Report today. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, and thanks for your leadership, Blake.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning into the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit themaddyinstitute.org. Welcome back to the Maddy Report. We just finished our conversation with UC Merced Chancellor Juan Sánchez Muñoz, and we'll now turn our discussion to the greater impact of the University of California system. Joining us to discuss this topic is Meredith Turner, Senior Vice President of External Relations and Communications for the University of California. Meredith, thanks for joining us today. At the beginning of 2025, the UC system had nearly 300,000 students enrolled across its 10 university system. If you could just talk a little bit about the greater impact and maybe provide an overview of the University of California's impact on the entire state of California. Just share a little bit with us about the impact of the UC.
Thanks so much for having me, Blake. I'm really glad to be here. So as a Californian, and I'll note a proud Central Valley kid, as well as a UC grad, I have had the opportunity to see the impact of the University of California firsthand. We are the state's leading research institution, and without a doubt, it is one of the best investments that taxpayers have ever made. Every dollar entrusted to UC turns into life-saving medical research, new crops that feed our state and the nation, jobs that fuel local economies, and opportunities that absolutely change the lives of families in our communities for generations. So you noted we enroll nearly 300,000 undergraduate and graduate students, and that equates to meaning over 500,000 jobs in California. 1 in every 45 are supported by the university. I think a little known fact is that we are actually physically present in every county in the state, whether it's providing healthcare, supporting our farmers, or catalyzing new industries and small businesses that contribute to a thriving and resilient economy. The university's work is really key to California's economic security and overall well-being and into the future. And so I think I want to make sure to note that the recent federal funding cuts, compounded with a really difficult state financial situation, has created unprecedented uncertainty for UC's mission to really serve the public good and support the communities in California that are most in need.
Could you talk also a little bit, you mentioned this briefly, but how does the UC contribute to public policy solutions in the state of California? You know, the Maddy Institute is a nonpartisan public policy institute. We focus on a lot of these issues specifically here in the Valley, but I'm curious about UC's broader impact when it comes to contributing to those solutions in the state of California.
Absolutely. I think that as the state's leading research institution, in addition to obviously educating those hundreds of thousands of Californians, we take our responsibility of conducting, that groundbreaking research specifically for California communities really seriously. And we really are on the forefront of solving our state's most pressing challenges. And to that end, are regularly in conversation with state leadership around the problems that they're trying to solve and thinking about how the university can help support those efforts. So our research is really powering California's leadership in everything from technology to clean energy, agriculture, as we know in the Central Valley, healthcare, and even our national defense. On top of that, our alumni are filling critical roles in industries across the state, and our hospitals and specialty care providers are treating patients from all walks of life and from every corner of California. And it's really those breakthroughs, everything from the internet to cancer drugs to the actual chip in the cell phone that you're using today, that have saved countless lives, both in California, across the country, and certainly across the world. They've sparked new industries, and they've kept our country safer and more competitive on the world stage. And so undermining UC's ability to research, to teach, to heal wouldn't just weaken the university, it would set back California's communities, our economy, and really our country's future.
Thank you, Meredith. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back. This is the Maddy Report. Welcome back. Meredith Turner, Senior Vice President of External Relations and Communications for the University of California. Thanks again for joining us on the program today. Before we wrap up our conversation, I want to talk about some more current issues and that you alluded to in your answers in the previous segment. There's a lot of discussion right now at the federal level about cuts to the University of California system. Maybe just for our viewers who don't know, what is being cut? And then from your perspective, what are some of the implications of these federal cuts to UC?
Thank you, Blake. So I think just as a baseline for folks who maybe haven't heard yet, we are currently facing a federal funding freeze of our research dollars at UCLA in the amount of $584 million. And on top of that, the federal government has demanded a $1 billion settlement from the university in order to restore those frozen grants. And while it's really important for folks to know that, what's also important to know is that the scale of impact is really much more far-reaching than just UCLA. The University of California receives $17 billion annually in federal funding, a little-known fact, and we receive almost $5 billion a year just in research funding alone. And so, knowing that we have a number of investigations across the university right now, there really is the potential for the university to lose multiple billions of dollars. And we've calculated that for every $1 billion the university could lose, that's 7,500 jobs and $20 billion in economic impact for our state. So if you start multiplying $1 billion by a few, that's going to have a real impact on our very communities in California. It'll reduce opportunities for students, slow the pace of innovation that I've talked about, and really erode our state's leadership. We're the fourth largest economy. And I know that when we talk about cuts in the multiple billions of dollars, it seems really abstract. But if we can't resolve this soon, these actions will without a doubt halt that critical research that I've talked about, curing diseases, weakening our hospital system, and really having, I think, recession-level impacts on the state's economy. And as someone who is really proud to have grown up in the Central Valley, I believe that I can paint a really clear picture of what this means for our communities. Physician shortages will worsen, droughts will be exacerbated, and farmers could lose precious crops if they don't have the expertise that they're used to relying on from the university.
Now, you mentioned your ties to the Central Valley, and then we've also talked about some of the statewide impacts. How is UC contributing to research right here in the Central Valley? We have centers like the UCSF Fresno Medical Center in downtown Fresno. UC Merced's campus obviously is here in our backyard. UC A&R has a strong presence here. What are some of the ongoing research initiatives and contributions that are having impacts right here at home?
This is such an important question, and I appreciate you asking, because I think so often if you haven't attended a UC, or you don't live near one of our campuses, or you don't treat at a UC hospital, the impact of UC on your life isn't always clear, when really the University of California is foundational to the Central Valley's economic strength and health and well-being. So I think focusing first on economic impacts, we have more than a $2.3 billion impact on the Central Valley. We have more than 50,000 alumni who live in the region, and more than 7,500 employees, which, as you know, we've got our agriculture, natural resources, and other programs in the Central Valley. Just last month, we held an annual Alumni Career Summit in Fresno to specifically connect our alumni in the region to opportunities across education, healthcare, local and state government, engineering, and so many more industries. On the research side, the Central Valley really is a hub of UC research, and we draw on expertise across multiple campuses to tackle some of the region's greatest challenges. So, for example, UC Berkeley researchers have studied the risks and the risk factors for valley fever. This one is actually near and dear to me. One of my childhood neighbors had valley fever and was deeply affected for a significant period of time, whereas UC Merced and UC Santa Cruz have partnered together for the project called Project Nexus, which is that solar over canal installation in Turlock, which promises to save billions of gallons of water and provide a new source of clean energy. And of course, I can't talk about the Central Valley without talking about our farmers. I went to an elementary school in Bakersfield that was surrounded on all four sides by farmland, including Grimway Farms. And it's our scientists that are helping develop more productive and resilient varieties of almonds, strawberries, tomatoes, and so many more crops. And then finally, on the health side, we're improving and committed to improving the health of the Valley by training more physicians, especially those who come from the region and are committed to staying in their communities. So we've created pathways like the San Joaquin Valley Prime Plus program, which maps out a journey from a San Joaquin high school to UC Merced for undergrad, to UC San Francisco for medical school, and then to UCSF Fresno for residency, really creating that pipeline of doctors dedicated to improving local health outcomes for years to come.
Well, Meredith, unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but thank you so much for your time and for joining the Maddy Report today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the work that you do at the Maddy Institute.
And thank you for tuning into the Maddy Report. To learn more about the Maddy Institute, visit themaddyinstitute.org. The views expressed in the Maddy Report are those of the individuals participating in the program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Maddy Institute. If you'd like to share your thoughts about today's episode of the Maddy Report, please visit our website at maddyinstitute.com.